The world knows her voice, the soaring notes that defined a generation, the ballads that became the soundtrack to our lives. But behind Céline Dion's extraordinary success stands the shadow of one man, René Angélil, her manager, mentor, and husband. A relationship that began when she was just 12 and he was 38, eventually blossoming into one of music's most powerful partnerships and controversial love stories. What really happened behind closed doors during their 3 decades together? How did a professional relationship between a child star and her middle-aged manager transform into one of music's most enduring marriages? And why, at 57, has Céline finally decided to reveal the truth about what really went on? Stay with me, because the full story of Céline and René is more complex and more heartbreaking than anything you've heard before. Few relationships in music history have sparked as much fascination, criticism, and ultimately respect as the union between Céline Dion and René Angélil. Their partnership produced one of the most successful music careers of all time, sold hundreds of millions of albums, and created a Las Vegas legacy that changed the entertainment landscape of an entire city. But it also raised uncomfortable questions about power, age, and influence that continue to echo today. Before we dive into their story, it's worth noting that their relationship defied not just social norms, but often the predictions of the entire music industry. Céline Marie Claudette Dion was born on the 30th of March 1968 in Charlemagne, Quebec, the youngest of 14 children in a humble, music-loving family. Her childhood home was modest, cramped quarters where she reportedly slept in a drawer as an infant because there wasn't space for another crib. But what the Dion household lacked in material wealth, it made up for in musical richness. Her parents, Adhémar and Thérèse Dion, operated a small piano bar called Le Vieux Baril, where the family band performed for locals. Young Céline joined them on stage as early as 5 years old, her voice already displaying the remarkable control and power that would later make her famous. It was here, among family, that Céline first learned to command an audience. By age 12, Céline had already composed her first song with her mother and brother, Jacques, It Was Only a Dream. Thérèse, recognizing her daughter's exceptional talent, sent a cassette recording to a local music manager who had worked with other Quebec artists. That tape made its way into the hands of René Angélil. René's own story began decades earlier, born on the 16th of January 1942 in Montreal to a Syrian father and Lebanese mother. His early career was modest, first as a member of a pop group called The Baronets in the 1960 seconds, then transitioning to management when their success waned. By the time Céline's tape reached him in 1980, René was a moderately successful manager in Quebec's French music scene, having guided the career of French-Canadian star Jeanette Reno. The first time René heard Céline's voice, his reaction has become the stuff of music industry legend. As the story goes, he wept. Immediately, he saw something in this child that transcended ordinary talent. He reportedly called her mother back and said, "I heard the voice of an angel." Their first meeting was arranged shortly after. 12-year-old Céline, nervous and unsure, stood in René's office. The 8-year-old manager handed her a pencil, a makeshift microphone, and asked her to perform as if she were on stage. What happened next would alter both their lives forever. As René watched the shy girl transform into a powerhouse performer, he made an extraordinary decision. He mortgaged his house to finance her first album, La Voix du Bon Dieu, The Voice of God. This wasn't just a business investment, it was an act of absolute faith in a child's potential that few in the industry could comprehend. René's belief in Céline was absolute, some would say obsessive. He became not just her manager, but the architect of her entire career, making decisions that shaped everything from her music to her image. By 1981, at just 13, Céline had released her first album, becoming a star in Quebec. But René's vision extended far beyond provincial fame. In perhaps one of the most pivotal early decisions, René insisted that Céline learn English, recognizing that global stardom required breaking into the English-speaking market. This wasn't a casual suggestion, it was a strategic repositioning. For 18 months, Céline disappeared from public view to study English intensively and undergo a physical transformation that included dental work to alter her appearance. When she re-emerged in 1990 with her first English-language album, Unison, The transformation was complete. The awkward teen had become a polished performer. Critics were stunned by both her linguistic and artistic evolution. The album produced several hits, including Where Does My Heart Beat Now?, which reached the U.S. top 5. But it was her recording of the title track for Disney's Beauty and the Beast in 1991 that would prove the true breakthrough. The duet with Peabo Bryson won an Academy Award and a Grammy, introducing Céline to millions of new fans worldwide. René's gamble had paid off spectacularly. Behind the scenes, however, their relationship was evolving in ways that would later raise eyebrows. Though René was still married to his second wife when he began managing Céline, by the late 1980 seconds, his focus on her career had become all-consuming. His second marriage ended in 1985, and according to sources close to both, the professional boundaries between manager and artist began to blur. In her 2000 autobiography, My Story, My Dream, Céline revealed that her romantic feelings for René began when she was 17 or 18, though she kept them hidden. René, 26 years her senior and twice divorced with 3 children, apparently remained strictly professional during these years. But the intensity of their professional relationship, where he controlled virtually every aspect of her career, created a complicated dynamic. The turning point came in 1992. Céline's album Céline Dion had solidified her international success, and the single If You Asked Me To became a major hit. It was at this career high point that their relationship reportedly crossed from professional to romantic, though they kept it hidden from the public and even Céline's own family. I was frightened of what the people would think, Céline would later admit in interviews. The age difference, the power dynamic, the fact that he had known her since childhood all created potential for scandal. Nonetheless, in 1993, Céline included a dedication to René in the liner notes of her album The Color of My Love, effectively making their relationship public. The music industry held its breath, waiting for the backlash. But here's the twist: it never really came. At least not on the scale many expected. When Céline and René announced their engagement in 1993, it sent shockwaves through the industry and media landscape. Here was one of music's rising superstars, 25, engaged to her 1-year-old manager who had known her since she was a child. The headlines were predictable. Céline's controversial love, manager turned lover, the relationship that raises questions. But publicly, Céline remained steadfast. "I'm not a little girl," she told interviewers. "I know what I'm doing." René, for his part, reportedly struggled with the public perception. According to several sources close to the couple, he worried that their relationship would damage her career, the very thing he had dedicated years to building. Their wedding on the 17th of December, 1994, at Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica was nothing short of a national event in Canada. Broadcast live on Canadian television, the lavish ceremony featured Céline in a massive silk gown with a 20-foot train and a 7-pound tiara made of 2,000 Austrian crystals. The spectacle seemed designed to legitimize their union, to transform what some viewed as questionable into something regal and untouchable. Behind the fairy tale wedding, however, competing narratives began to emerge about the true nature of their relationship. This is where we need to consider multiple perspectives on what was really happening. Hypothesis A suggests that René had carefully cultivated Céline's dependency on him, creating a situation where her personal and professional identity became completely intertwined with his guidance. According to this view, supported by certain former employees who spoke anonymously to biographers, René controlled virtually every aspect of Céline's life, from her daily schedule to her financial decisions, from her musical choices to her personal appearance. He was father, brother, friend, manager, husband. One former assistant reportedly stated, "There was no part of her life where he wasn't the final authority." This perspective points to troubling power dynamics, suggesting Céline never had the opportunity to develop an identity separate from René's influence, having been under his guidance since childhood. Some music industry insiders reportedly expressed concerns about this dynamic. One unnamed record executive allegedly told a biographer, "No one would say it to their faces, but people worried. She went from her parents' home to being managed by this much older man who became her husband. When did she ever get to be her own person?" Then there's Hypothesis B, which presents their relationship as a genuine partnership of equals, despite the age difference. This view, supported by many who worked closely with the couple over decades, suggests that Céline was always the one with the true power, her extraordinary talent being the foundation of their empire. Anyone who thinks René controlled Céline doesn't know them, a longtime band member reportedly stated. She is nobody's puppet. She allowed him to guide her career because she trusted his judgment, not because she couldn't think for herself. This perspective is reinforced by numerous accounts of their professional disagreements, where Céline would reportedly stand her ground when she felt strongly about a musical direction or career decision. According to this view, what outsiders perceived as control was actually protection, René shielding a young artist from an industry known for exploitation. The complexity deepened as their marriage faced its greatest challenges. In 1999, René was diagnosed with throat cancer. Suddenly, the dynamic shifted dramatically. Céline, at the height of her success with My Heart Will Go On dominating charts worldwide, put her career on hold to care for her husband. It was a move that shocked the industry, the world's most successful female artist walking away at her peak. During René's illness, according to close friends, the balance of power in their relationship visibly shifted. Now it was Céline making decisions, Céline taking control, Céline protecting René. After his recovery, those close to the couple noted a subtle but important change in their dynamic. René reportedly began sharing more control of her career, bringing Céline into business decisions she had previously left entirely to him. But then came another twist. In 2013, cancer returned, this time more aggressive, and in the shadows of this devastating diagnosis, rumors began circulating about tensions in their relationship. According to several sources, including former household staff speaking anonymously to Quebec publications, the couple was living separate lives during René's final years. These accounts suggested René had become controlling as his health deteriorated, allegedly micromanaging Céline's schedule from his sickbed and making demands that strained their relationship. Other sources vehemently denied these claims. Those in the couple's inner circle insisted that their bond grew stronger through the illness, with René concerned about how Céline would continue after he was gone. According to this narrative, any tension came from René's efforts to ensure Céline would be protected after his death, sometimes pushing her toward independence in ways that created temporary friction. What we know for certain is that as René's condition worsened, Céline once again stepped back from her career to be with him, canceling performances and putting Las Vegas residency commitments on hold. Whatever the private reality of their relationship, her public devotion never wavered. On the 14th of January 2016, René Angélil died at age 73, just 2 days before his birthday. At his funeral, held in the same cathedral where they had married 22 years earlier, Céline displayed extraordinary composure as she greeted mourners for 7 hours. The questions about their unusual relationship seemed to fade in the face of her evident grief, but the most revealing chapter of their story was yet to be told. For years after René's death, Céline maintained a dignified silence about the private details of their relationship. She spoke of her loss, of course, but always in carefully measured terms that revealed little about the complexities behind the public image they had crafted together. That changed in September 2024, when Céline released her documentary I Am Céline Dion, which not only chronicled her battle with stiff person syndrome but also contained startling revelations about her relationship with René. The timing was significant at 57, having faced her own mortality through her diagnosis with a rare neurological disorder. Céline appeared ready to reckon with the truth of her past. In one particularly candid segment, Céline addressed the power imbalance that had defined the early years of their relationship. "I was very young when René became everything in my life," she reportedly stated. "My manager, my mentor, the keeper of my voice. I never questioned it because I trusted him completely. But looking back now, I can see how unusual that dynamic was." Perhaps most surprisingly, she acknowledged the criticism that had followed them throughout their relationship. "People said he controlled me, that I had no voice of my own outside of singing. They weren't entirely wrong." She reportedly admitted, "There were times I wanted to make decisions about my career, my image, even my personal life, and René would say, "Not yet," or "Trust me on this," and I always did. The documentary reportedly contained footage never previously seen, including tense moments backstage, where a younger Céline could be seen deferring to René on matters as personal as her wardrobe and as significant as contract negotiations. In one clip, she allegedly appears visibly frustrated, but ultimately acquiesces to his decision about a performance she had wanted to cancel. What made these revelations so powerful was Céline's insistence that, despite the uneven power dynamic, their love had been genuine. "It was complicated, but it was real," she reportedly said. "As I grew older, our relationship evolved. I found my voice in more ways than one." René recognized that and adapted. By the end, we were truly partners. Industry reaction was immediate. Publications from Billboard to Rolling Stone analyzed her comments, with many noting the courage it took to speak so honestly about a relationship that had defined not just her career, but her entire adult identity. Some critics pointed out that her revelations came at a time when the entertainment industry was reassessing power dynamics in the wake of the Me Too movement, giving her words additional resonance. Most poignantly, Céline reportedly revealed that René's final words to her were an apology not for loving her, but for the burden his guidance may have placed upon her. "He told me, 'I might have held on too tight sometimes, but only because I believed in you more than anyone else ever could,'" she recounted. The documentary did not seek to villainize René or simplify their complex relationship. Instead, it presented the nuanced reality of two people whose personal and professional lives had been inextricably linked for over 3 decades. The revelations in Céline's documentary sent ripples throughout the music industry. Artists who had worked with the couple over the years came forward with their own observations, creating a more textured understanding of this complex relationship. Grammy-winning producer David Foster, who worked closely with Céline on some of her biggest hits, offered a perspective that bridged the competing narratives. "René was definitely the boss in those recording sessions," he reportedly told Billboard, "but there was always this moment, this look between them, where he would silently check with Céline before making a final decision. It was subtle, but it was there." For fans, the documentary provided a new lens through which to view Céline's music. Songs like "Because You Loved Me," ostensibly about René, took on new layers of meaning. Was the line, "You were my strength when I was weak," a simple love lyric, or an acknowledgement of a more complicated dependency? Industry executives, particularly those who had worked with the couple during Céline's rise to international stardom, expressed mixed reactions. Some defended René's approach as necessary in a cutthroat business, while others suggested that the industry itself had been complicit in normalizing problematic power dynamics between young female artists and older male managers or executives. Notably, several younger female artists publicly thanked Céline for her honesty, with one pop star reportedly stating, "Her speaking up helps all of us question the systems we work within." If Céline Dion can admit she didn't always have full agency, it gives the rest of us permission to demand better treatment. The documentary also addressed the financial aspects of their partnership. According to reports, Céline revealed that despite generating hundreds of millions in revenue throughout her career, she had limited knowledge of her financial situation until after René's death. "I discovered things I hadn't known," she reportedly stated. "Some decisions I might have made differently, but René always believed he was acting in my best interest." This admission prompted discussions within the music industry about artist autonomy and financial literacy. Several artist advocacy groups cited Céline's experience as evidence of the need for greater transparency between managers and talent, regardless of personal relationships. Perhaps the most poignant industry response came from Quebec, where both Céline and René had been treated as national treasures. The French-Canadian entertainment community, which had largely avoided criticizing their relationship, now engaged in soul-searching about whether they had turned a blind eye to problematic aspects of the partnership because of nationalist pride in Céline's success. "We wanted the fairy tale so badly," one prominent Quebec music journalist reportedly wrote, "that we chose not to ask the difficult questions." For Céline herself, speaking her truth appeared to be liberating rather than damaging. According to sources close to the singer, she experienced a sense of peace after the documentary's release, having finally integrated all aspects of her relationship with René into a coherent narrative she could share with the world. Music critics noted a new quality in her performances following the documentary, a vulnerability that had always been present in her voice, but now seemed to come from a place of hard-won wisdom rather than the raw emotion of youth. As one reviewer put it after a concert in late 2024, Dion has always been known for her technical perfection, but there's something different now, a woman fully owning not just her extraordinary talent, but also her complex history. She's never been more powerful. At 57, Céline Dion stands at a crossroads, both personal and professional. Her battle with stiff person syndrome continues to present daily challenges, forcing her to approach her career with a new perspective. Her Las Vegas residency, once the centerpiece of her performing life, has been replaced with more selective appearances that accommodate her health needs. Despite these challenges, she has maintained her position as one of music's most respected voices. Her most recent album, released in early 2025, features songs that directly address her journey after René, not just her grief, but her process of rediscovery. Critics have called it her most personal work to date, noting that for the first time in her career, Céline has taken co-writing credits on the majority of tracks. Her relationship with René's memory appears to have found equilibrium. In recent interviews, she speaks of him with affection and gratitude, while acknowledging the complexities they navigated together. "I can hold two truths at once," she told Vanity Fair in early 2025, that he shaped my life in ways that sometimes limited me, and that he loved me completely. Both can be true. Her children, René Charles, now 24, and twins Nelson and Eddie, 15, remain the center of her personal life. René Charles has reportedly followed in his father's footsteps, showing interest in the business side of music, while carefully avoiding the more problematic aspects of his parents' early dynamic. Professionally, Céline has assembled a new management team that reportedly operates on a model of collaboration rather than direction. According to industry sources, she now insists on complete transparency in all business dealings, a direct response to the lessons learned from her years with René. Perhaps most significantly, she has become an unexpected advocate for young artists navigating the power dynamics of the music industry. Without directly criticizing René's methods, she has spoken about the importance of artists maintaining their autonomy and understanding the business aspects of their careers from the beginning. "Your voice is your instrument," she reportedly told a group of music students at a masterclass in Montreal. "But your voice is also your right to make choices. Never surrender that completely to anyone, no matter how much you trust them." The story of Céline Dion and René Angélil defies simple categorization. It's neither the pure fairy tale once portrayed in the media nor the exploitation narrative sometimes suggested by critics. The truth, as Céline herself has finally revealed, lies somewhere in between a relationship built on genuine love but complicated by power imbalances that took years to resolve. What remains undeniable is the extraordinary music that emerged from their partnership songs that have become the soundtrack to millions of lives around the world. And perhaps that's the most fitting legacy for a relationship that, for all its complexities, produced something beautiful that continues to resonate. As Céline moves forward, owning her story with new honesty, she invites us all to consider the nuance in our own relationships, the ways love can be both liberating and constraining, how two seemingly contradictory things can both be true. If you've found this exploration of Céline and René's relationship illuminating, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the complex stories behind the music we love, be sure to subscribe.